So I'm going to talk to you about how to get better sleep. And there are many things that can influence the quality of sleep that we have, but probably the biggest factor is circadian rhythm. Now, I talked about circadian rhythm in another video. If you haven't seen that video and you don't fully understand what the circadian rhythm is, I highly recommend you watch that, because that's going to give you a background understanding of what I'm going to be talking about here and why circadian rhythm is so important. So check that out. Now, what are some of the things that influence that? There are four key factors that influence our circadian rhythm. In other words, they're the signals that tell the body what time of day it is. And if we get these things wrong, or we send conflicting signals, we create this internal chaos and confusion in the body, which creates disruption in the circadian rhythm and many consequences to the way our hormones, enzymes, genes function, all the organs and glands of the body, the way that they function. So if we want good health, we need to get these signals right. So there are four key signals. First signal is light. Now, light obviously in the natural world comes from the sun. When the sun is up, it's light. When the sun is down, it's dark, it's nighttime. It's a signal to the body that it's night. Now, obviously in our modern era, we are not so much influenced by the sun like we used to be. So we are exposed to light outside of this time. And this is a problem because we spend all our time indoors as well. All of these things add up and influence the type of light that we're exposed to and when we're exposed to it, which can cause all kinds of problems with the disruption of the circadian rhythm. Then we have movement. Movement, we would move again if we go back in time, our ancestors in the natural world, most animal species anyway, move mostly in the daytime and very little at night. And their circadian rhythm and our circadian rhythm is very much intertwined with that movement patterns. So we need to be more active in the day and less at night. Then we have temperature. Again, when the sun is up, it's warmer. When the sun is down, it's cooler. Another key important signal to our bodies to let us know what time of day it is. And then finally, we have our food or eating habits. Food is another signal to the body about what time of day it is. Again, we would typically only eat at the beginning of the day, obviously, and the end of the day, in the daytime. Not really late at night, not in the middle of the night, anything like that. That's again, it's sending the wrong signals at the wrong time. So those are the four key signals. So what does that look like in practice? So let me give you a few tips. Now that you have an understanding of why these tips are going to work, let me give you 4 key tips to help make your sleep better, help improve things. So first one is to simply get moving more in the day and move less at night. So if you're someone that's very active at night, whether it's brain wise or body wise, most of the activity wants to be in the day. So you want to concentrate that period of time, particularly movement in the day, which will give a clearer signal for your body to distinguish between night and day. That's super important for the circadian rhythm. Then we have light. Now there's lots of ways in which light in our modern lives can have a negative influence, and also light more from the natural sources can have a positive influence. So the number one thing I'm going to suggest to you because this is quite a big topic, but the number one thing to keep it nice and simple is start to eliminate as much as you can any sources of bright light or any sources of blue light from your environment at night time. Not necessarily in the daytime, but at night time. Now, blue light, I will put together another video so you can understand a bit more about what blue light is and where it comes from, because it is an important one we want to be eliminating. So once that's ready, we'll post that, and I'll put a link on this video as well. Then we have temperature I talked about. So what can we do in regard to that? Well, at night time, the signal for sleep, the signal for pre-preparing the body and resetting the circadian rhythm is a drop in temperature. So we want to have our environment that we sleep in cool. We don't want it too hot. Ideally we want it below 20 degrees, above about 15 degrees. That's kind of the ideal optimal temperature, 15 degrees centigrade that is. We want to be in that range ideally. That's optimal for sleep. So as much as possible, try and get that in. If you can't influence the room temperature as much, then maybe use a fan, because that can obviously have a similar cooling effect on the body with the movement of the air that creates. But as well as, the other key thing is to get your body cool, or start cooling down the body before sleep. In the hour or so, half an hour or so before you go to bed, you actually want the body to start to cool down. That's really, really important as a clear signal to circadian rhythm. In fact, melatonin, which you may have heard of, is that sleep hormone, or it's not really a sleep hormone as such, but it prepares the body for sleep. And melatonin is suppressed when our body temperature is raised. So we need to cool it, which is a signal to release melatonin, which is going to help us sleep better and much more deeply, have a better quality of sleep. So we need a cool bedroom, and we need to cool our bodies before we go to sleep. So simply just, not wearing as much clothing in the hour or so before bed will help with that. Putting on the aircon or a fan or something, those things can help. Obviously in the winter time you might not need to do that as much, but maybe that means putting down the temperature in the bedroom or whatever you are in the house at that point in time. Then tip number 4 is to stop eating 3 hours before bed. Again, when we eat, we raise the core body temperature. We don't want to be doing that for the reasons I just talked about, the impact it has on melatonin and the consequences it has on our circadian rhythm. Also for many functions, especially things like detoxification, improving immune health, we need to be avoiding eating 3 hours before bed, at least 3 hours before bed, to allow these processes to happen. Again, it's a super important signal to the body to let our physiology know what time of day it is. So those are the 4 tips. More movement in the day, less movement at night. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to obviously eliminate blue light and bright light at night. Tip number 3, get your environment and your body nice and cool before bed. And tip number 4 is about eating less, or eating not at all really, in the 3 hours before bed. Hopefully that's useful. Give me some thumbs up if you find that useful, and I will catch you